Hello chess fans, this is Rick from Chess to Impress with coverage of round 12 of the 2018 Candidates Tournament. It's all heating up in Berlin and these were the pairings. Round 12 played on Saturday, March 24th. Alexander Grischuk was white against Levon Aronian. Sergey Karjakin against Fabiano Caruana was the big game of the round. Caruana tournament leader and Karjakin making a big comeback. Vladimir Kramnik against Wesley So and Shahryar Mamedyarov against Ding Liren. Let's look at the game between Sergey Karjakin and Fabiano Caruana. It was quite a clash. In the last round of the 2016 Candidates Tournament, it was also Karjakin with white against Caruana with black. But at that time Caruana had to win with black. And of course in this game it was very different. Caruana was leading the tournament, half a point ahead of Mamedyarov and a full point ahead of Karjakin. Karjakin opened e4, e5, knight f3, knight f6, the Russian opening, the Petrov. Knight takes e5, d6, kicking the knight back. Knight takes e4, winning the pawn back. Knight c3, those knights were swapped. And knight c6. Bishop e3, bishop e7, queen d2, bishop e6. White castled queenside, and you cannot take that pawn on a2 because you lose your bishop. b3. If you want to come to the rescue of the bishop, you're too late. After king b2, the bishop gets lost. After castling queenside, Caruana played queen d7. a3 from Karjakin, and he said afterwards that he trusts Rustam Kazimjanov, who came up with this move, a former FIDE world champion, and he copied this move and said this must not have come as a surprise to Caruana. h6 was played by Caruana. Karjakin commented after the game that he said he didn't know that move h6. He thought black had to play the other pawn, a6. After the move from the game, Karjakin played knight d4, knight takes, bishop takes, rook in g8, protecting that pawn, and bishop e2. An alternative is c4, but Karjakin said he did not like that move after c5, so he chose for bishop e2 instead. Now comes c5 as well, and afterwards both players looked at different options for black. Queen a4 was an option. They didn't go into variations after this move, and also a6 was looked at, c4, castling queenside, and they didn't go any further, but those were alternatives for black. But Caruana, as said, played c5. Bishop had to go back, and d5. f4 from Karjakin. Caruana also castled on the queenside. Bishop f3, and now a big moment in this game. Caruana thought after the game he had to play f5 here, and they quickly looked at this variation. Queen f2, queen c7, rook d3, rook d7, similar to we'll see in the game, these maneuvers. Rook hd1, rook g d8, and then h3. And Karjakin said preparing g4. Karjakin thought he would still be better, but Caruana said at least it's not easy for white to make progress after this variation. So this is after bishop f3 and then f5. But Caruana played bishop g4 instead. And now here Sergey Karjakin sacrifices an exchange. Bishop takes d5. Caruana said he shouldn't have allowed this sacrifice. It becomes very difficult to play for black. And Karjakin said, I think I should play like a man. Because of the tournament situation, I felt I should go for the sacrifice. Otherwise, the position is very drawish. Now, what is the sacrifice? Well, this rook on d1 is now hanging. And Caruana took it. Rook takes back. And Caruana said, after this exchange sacrifice from white, it took me a few moves to realize I could not do anything. I was under the illusion that I could get counterplay and exchange bishops, or get my king safe. But I couldn't find a way, and white plays prophylactic move to improve its position. king b1, king a2, and we'll see those moves later. White's king is very safe. Maybe it's not so bad for black, but practically it is very unpleasant to play for black. After each move it became more unpleasant. And then he said, only when I went to the rest area and saw the position on the monitor from the white side, I realized how bad this is for black. I should have had a feeling that it was bad for me. I don't know why this feeling was absent. And Karjakin said this position is much easier to play for white, so he agreed with Caruana. In the Chess 24 broadcast, Peter Svidler said the bishop on d5 is a monster. And Jan Gustafsson, the German grandmaster, replied yes, and bishop e7 is an idiot. So lots to say about this position. Caruana played queen c7. Now this bishop on d5, the monster on d5 is pinned. c4, rook ge8, queen f2, taking the bishop out of the pin, b6, and Karjakin played g4. It's not good to win a second pawn here for the exchange. Bishop takes f7 is not a good move, because then you will lose your monster. Rook takes d1, check, king takes, and bishop h4 is a nice move, attacking the queen. Queen takes, and there is the monster gone, and this is better for black. So after b6, Karjakin did not take on f7, he played g4. Bishop f6, king b1, rook d7, rook d3, g5, king a2, making those prophylactic moves as Caruana called them. Rook e7, queen f3, and now black doesn't see a way to improve his position any further, so he plays with the king. King d8, bishop back, and king c8. Not great to have to make those moves for black. Karjakin now came up with queen f1 and said, I was proud when I saw the idea of queen f1 and rook h3 to try and break through. It's an important maneuver, otherwise it's very hard to break through, said Karjakin. So queen f1 was played and rook d6 came from Caruana. Karjakin said this was probably a blunder, as white will now win a pawn. But Caruana said no, it was not a blunder, I just did not see a way to deal with rook h3. And I thought that losing a pawn would at least give me easier play, because I already didn't see a move for black. Now let's see how white wins that second pawn for the exchange. He took on g5, bishop takes, h take, and queen f5 check. Is check, and attacking the pawn, a double attack. Rook dd7 to shield the check, and queen takes g5 wins a second pawn for the exchange. Queen e5, queen h6, and here both players that probably f6 was a better try for black, and then white wants to play h4, start running with that passed pawn, but Caruana played king d8. g5, queen d6, queen h8 check. Karjakin does not want to swap queens. Rook e8, and now queen h4. In the press conference after the game, both players looked at queen h3 instead, and here are some variations, they're quite nice. The threat that white now has is bishop takes f7, hitting the rook, hitting the queen, and then, as Karjakin pointed out, queen f4 is the only move here. You cannot play queen g6 instead, because then there is a very nice move, queen takes d7 check. Lightning strikes, because if you take and you have no choice, then there is bishop takes f7 check. It's a discovered check, the rook gives check, and the queen is hanging. King e7, bishop takes g6, white wins. So after, let me get rid of those yellow arrows. After queen h3 we said queen g6 doesn't work, queen f4 is the only move, said Karjakin. And then he said, well, after rook f3, which was shown by Caruana, white is winning here anyway. An alternative for white is bishop c6, but that is not good, because then black has queen takes c4 check. And you have to interpose the rook on b3, because if you don't do that, you will get mated. If you play b3 instead, then there is queen takes c2 check and mate in 2. Okay, so back to the start. We had played queen h3, and we saw that queen f4 is the only good reply. And then bishop c6 we just saw does not work, but rook f3 does work. And why is that such a good move? Well, let's have a look. Queen takes g5, takes that pawn. Then bishop c6 does work, securing both rooks. Rook e7, bishop takes, rook takes, and the dust has settled. White is a pawn up, and what also is very important in this position, that his king, white's king, is a lot safer than black's king. And with those heavy pieces on the board, that is a huge factor, which makes that white's position is superior here. So all that after queen h8 to h3, but Karjakin in the game played queen h4. But I wanted to show you those nice variations after queen h3. Queen g6 from Caruana, queen g4, rook e5, h4, king e7, rook d2, and here Caruana played b5, and he said maybe I should have played something else, but I could not find any move to play. Everything is hopeless. He really had a very frustrating game, Caruana did. Bishop takes f7 from Karjakin, attacking the queen and attacking the rook with both rook and queen. Very strong move. Queen f5 to get out of trouble. Rook takes d7 check. King takes. And now the queens were swapped. Followed by g6. King e7. C takes b5. Rook h5 going after the h-pawn. c4. Rook takes. a4. Rook g4. a5. King d6. a6, very instructive move this. This is one to remember. King c7 is now forced, because if you play something else, rook g3, then we get this breakthrough. b6, and you cannot stop the pawns. After king c6 there is b takes a7, and the king cannot stop the a-pawn. So after a6, king c7 was forced, but the game only lasted one more move. King b3, and Fabiano Caruana resigned. Why did he resign? Well, white has two big threats. It's the g6, g7, g8 threat, and of course this breakthrough idea as we just saw. One of black's pieces has to control the g7 square, otherwise g7 will come and g8 is the next move. And in the meantime, white will bring his king over to the king side, will somehow make it to the f6 square, and black will eventually lose this game. Easy technique for a grandmaster of the caliber of Sergey Karjakin. Big win for Karjakin, and a tough loss, the first loss in the tournament for Fabiano Caruana. Karjakin, on the other hand, started this tournament with 1 out of 4, and in the 8 rounds after that he has made 4 draws and 4 wins, so 6 out of 8 in the last 8 games. Quite an incredible comeback from the former world champion challenger. A picture speaks 1,000 words. Karjakin was smiling there on the left with the FIDE press officer Anastasia Karlovic, and Fabiano Caruana had his own thoughts. The results of round 12, Grishuk and Aronian played a draw. We saw Karjakin with his big win over Caruana. Kramnik and So played a draw. And look at this result. Mamedyarov, who was half a point behind Caruana at the start of the round, lost against Ding Liren, who chalked up his first win after 11 draws. And that actually puts him back in contention to win this tournament. Let's have a look at those standings. Caruana still on top, but now joined with Karjakin. If both players are still on top after the 14th round, then Karjakin will qualify for a match with Magnus Carlsen, because the first tiebreak is the games played against each other. And the first game between them was a draw, and Karjakin won the second game. Mamedyarov, Grishuk and Ding are now only half a point behind. Kramnik a full point behind them. So and Aronian have no chance of winning this tournament anymore. So realistically, 5 players can still win this tournament. It's heating up very nicely for a grand finale. Sunday will be a rest day, and on Monday, March 26th, the 13th round will be played. We'll see Shahryar Mamedyarov against Alexander Grishuk. Both players half a point behind the lead. Ding Liren, Vladimir Kramnik, Wesley So against Sergey Karjakin, and Fabiano Caruana against Levon Aronian. It will be, again, extremely exciting, and I hope you will keep following the tournament with me. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and please subscribe to the Chess to Impress channel. Please leave a comment, I will read them all and I will reply to them all. You also may want to check out my Chess to Progress channel. The link is in the description box. This is Rick for Chess to Impress. Thank you for watching.